Welcome to another episode of Southern Arizona's Nonprofits, the superheroes impacting our community. We're broadcasting live today on the Tucson Business Channel, a division of Mark Bishop Media, from the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. This show is brought to you by SCIP, SSCIP, the Social Service Contractor Indemnity Pool, ensuring nonprofits like ours for more than 3.5 decades. I'm Barbara McClure, Executive Director of Impact to Southern Arizona, host of this show, and with me today are two women who work directly with clients, improving their lives every day with therapeutic and rehabilitative services for children and families in the Tucson community. So please join me in welcoming McKinley Madril, Program Director and Equine Specialist of Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids, or Trak for short.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming. And also joining us is Amy Serafin, Development and Communications Specialist and a donor of children's clinics, also in Tucson. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we are excited to have both of you here today. And I am going to start today with Amy because one of the fun things about this particular show is that all three of us were in attendance at the recent July 100 Plus Women Who Care Arizona Big Give. And it was a fun event because we joined the 100 plus men, or 100 plus guys who give group joined us. And so it was a big mix of all of us. And in the previous session, we had for the first time we 100 plus women reached the $1 million mark. So cumulatively, we had given away $1 million. And one of the big things about the July Give was that we combined the two organizations. And so we had quite a bit of money to give. It was about $75,000 altogether. And this time, for the first time, we had one big winner who won a giant prize, and then the runners-up also won money. So Amy's organization, Amy was the presenter, and Amy won for her organization $62,000, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they say maybe 65, but I'm just saying 62 to be safe.
Sure. And the reason it is different is because a lot of people come just as guests, and then if they register during the event, then they get to participate, so that money gets added on afterwards. So a guaranteed 62 and maybe some more for sure. Yeah. And there were a lot of people there because it was a big deal. So congratulations on your win.
Thank you. We were so excited about it.
It is a special thing, and I think it was fun to have the guys there. So it was a crazy stormy night. Those of you who don't live in Tucson, we have monsoon season, and that particular night, we've had a weird year. I think it's the proof that climate change is really a real thing. We've been having almost like storms that other parts of the country have, not monsoon seasons, but almost like tropical storms and tornadoes and crazy things. So we were all in a great big tent that night. Yeah. It was entertaining.
I think at first we thought the tent was going to blow away, and then the tent just started leaking. Right. Different stages of chaos.
So it's a crazy thing. It's only 1 hour. Right. It's an hour of meet and greet ahead of time and then an hour at the actual give. But it was a long hour with that thundering storm going on outside. So it will be memorable for many reasons, but especially for you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And then also, McKinley, you were there as an audience member. And are you a member of 100 Plus Women?
I am. I am a new member. I just joined maybe a month ago, if even that. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Well, welcome. So your $100 went to children's clinics.
Yes.
That's very exciting.
I'm so happy about that. Just another way to support.
It is. It's a neat organization. So we were all three there, and with them hundreds of other people, I think, that night. So it was very fun. And then, so I wanted to talk to you, Amy, because of course you won all this money. And so before we get into how you're going to spend it or where you're going to spend it, maybe you can give our listeners kind of an overview of what Children's Clinics is.
Absolutely. Happy to. Children's Clinics is the only organization of its kind in Arizona where we are an outpatient medical home for over 5,000 children in southern Arizona in 5 different counties. And we serve children with complex medical conditions such as spina bifida, muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, and more. What we do is take everything under one roof. So all the medical specialists, all the therapists, primary care, dental, behavioral health, social services, and we put it under one roof. So rather than a child with a medical complexity bouncing around all over town and having to take time off of work for the families, we just bring the child to the clinic and everybody comes to the child. And it's really special because it also creates such a community. Families see the same families a lot of times. So
sure.
It's just a special place.
That's fun. And then we were talking earlier about the fact that you in the industry refer to it as a medical home.
Yes.
So you're on the TMC campus, but you're not your own building, or it's not a home where people come to live. So maybe you can straighten that out.
I would love to, because this to me is like the beauty of Tucson, is that it's a village to raise our kids in a way. So TMC leases our land for $1. Square and Compass, who we partner with back in 1947 with polio rehabilitation, they built our building back in 1991. They take care of the lights, they take care of the building, they just put on a new roof for us, and then we operate inside of it. So it's like a nonprofit within a nonprofit. But TMC also helps us out with all of our custodial stuff. They help us out with IS, so it is a team effort for everyone to come together to help our children.
That is very typical in Tucson, I think. Impact is the same way. We have 1 million partners who work with us to accomplish what we can do for the community, because that's the best way, like you say, as a village.
100%, yeah.
So are the families just coming one day at a time and then going home? They're not spending the night necessarily in the facility?
No, and we do have families from like Benson and Sierra Vista and stuff, and there are times that they come up and we work with the Ronald McDonald House on that. The Ronald McDonald House is actually on our board. So another great partner.
Sure.
But usually what happens, the format is if we have a Down syndrome clinic day, and that's why there's an S at the end of clinic, is because we have multiple clinics where children come in. So we'll have a Down syndrome clinic day because we know that a child with Down syndrome pretty much has this. They're usually born with a heart defect. They have speech and language pathology that they need to go to. So we know that this child on this Down syndrome clinic day needs to see these certain specialists and therapists. And so we will schedule that. So the kid will come in for a half day and see all their specialists and therapists. So that's less time that mom and dad have to take off of work, less time that the child has to take off of school, and we get all those appointments in.
That's very nice.
Mm-hmm. That is.
It sounds so efficient, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I always hear parents saying, we have so many therapies scheduled and we have to take these days off or these hours, or they even have to be pulled out of school for that time. So it's really nice that they can just go one place for one day or half a day.
We do our best to try and get it on one day, but there are times when children, if they're young and they need multiple therapies, we can't do it all on one day. We have to spread it out. But we do really try and get it all on one day. So that's just less wear and tear on the family.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great model. I'm sure they all love it. I wanted to read this quote from your medical director, Dr. Sydney Rice, because it's on the website, but I think it's just so indicative of what the place is. So she says, "The clinic is a place of daily miracles. It's a place where loving families, dedicated providers, and inspired administrators come together to improve lives. We may not always cure, but together we almost always make it better. It's a place of intense challenge, hard work, immense compassion and kindness." And I think that speaks a lot to what you bring.
It truly is. And she's right. We're not medical research. There are not cures, unfortunately, for our children, but we do our best to make sure that their quality of life is better.
Well, that's very cool. And you're doing therapeutic and other things. I mean, not just the medical, but I heard you mention behavioral health and mental health and all kinds of
we have complete wraparound services. So not only do we have medical specialists, and we are also a center of excellence for cochlear implant and a center of excellence for cleft lip and palate and autism. So we also have those going on. But yes, we have the largest rehabilitation center in Arizona with occupational therapy, physical therapy, audiology, speech and language pathology, nutrition. I mean, we're a very large entity. We do medical testing. We pull our own blood. We do MRIs there. We have primary care for adults and children. We added an adult primary care because, one, our children were not always, because they were so medically complex when they started to age out, a lot of primary care doctors did not want to take them So we just added in a primary care doctor. And then also we found that our caregivers were not always taking care of themselves.
Oh,
so since they're already coming to the clinic for their child, well, let's just make it easier and have them be seen at primary care as well. And yes, we have behavioral health, and then we also have 6 full-time social workers.
Gosh, it sounds like you need a building as large as TMC.
Absolutely.
Which is the Tucson Medical Center for those who don't live in Tucson. But that sounds just like so much work going on. You must have 1 million staff members.
We have 130 full-time staff members because on top of that, as I think I was explaining, we have medical coders and we have to get pre-authorization and there's medical records and it is a village.
Yes, and it's definitely crazy. But you're doing a lot of great work. Thank you. And McKinley, I know you're doing some of that therapeutic work also. So maybe you can tell us about Trak.
So Trak is a ranch. It's a therapeutic ranch for animals and kids, but we invite everybody, regardless of age, regardless of ability, disability. We really want to give everybody in our community the chance to interact with these animals and to be the best versions of themselves. We really strive to educate our community on these animals, their options for life, how to find resources, how to get resources, receive them, all of that good stuff. We even do programs such as like birthday parties and fun activities, or going to the children's clinic, lots of service visits. So we are kind of all over Tucson and with our hands in a little bit of everything. And we just find that's the best way to support our community.
Well, I know you're an equine specialist, so maybe you can tell people how working with a horse, what's the benefit of someone working with a horse?
So there's a lot of benefits. So we have people come in with high anxiety. The horses, they have an electromagnetic field around themselves, and it actually helps us calm our nervous systems. So that's just one of the ways. If you're on a horse, they have the gait, which is like their walk, that mimics calming music. So it helps calm their whole nervous system. And then 2, it's just that human-animal bond. I'll say that a lot, but it means so much to people, whether it's a dog, whether it's a horse. You find that connection and you just know you're safe with this animal. You know that, they're not going to judge you. They're not going to say, hey, you messed up. They might give you a little bit of a side eye saying, what are you doing? But they will never judge you for anything, and they'll just love you as much as you love them.
I think that a lot of people who are listening can relate, because I think that's how people feel about their pets. As you were saying, a dog
Absolutely.
or a cat, they become your family.
They do. And it's just special because a lot of these families that we service, they're not able to have pets at home. They're not able to, care for another being in their home, especially if they have medical complexities. So having this opportunity to come to this ranch with over 60 animals, it gives them a variety of animals, a variety of personalities that these animals have to really choose. I mean, we even have cats and dogs on the ranch.
I was going to ask you that because I know it's fun. There's so many different animals on the ranch. And so it's not really just about horses, is it? A horse might be intimidating to a lot of people. Yeah. I was a horseback rider, and there were people who would ask me to do things as an adult. I'm like, well, nobody wants to get anywhere near that horse because they think they're unpredictable and they don't know how to be around them. But I noticed you had goats.
Yes,
so I'm sure a goat's a really fun thing to snuggle up with, or give a big hug around that little neck.
And they love it. They'll come right up to you. They'll beg you for pets. If you're sitting down in the goat pen with them, they'll just climb right into your lap and sit on top of you. It is the sweetest thing. They are big dogs.
Sure, exactly. And I saw all kinds of animals there. So, ducks. I mean, it's hard to even, pigs.
Yes.
A little bit
ducks,
of everything.
Pigs, chickens, rabbits, miniature donkeys, miniature horses, full-sized horses. We try to have it all.
That's a fun group of animals. And I think Amy was commenting earlier that Trak brings a petting zoo to you. Is that right, Amy?
They do. I think we have them on schedule for our Halloween event and also for our Christmas, our holiday events. Yeah.
Very fun. So you even travel
Yes,
get on the road with your animals. Mm-hmm. That's fun.
I mean, we have a lot of clients and families that are saying, hey, we aren't able to make it. So we'll take it to you. How can we best serve you? What are you guys looking to do with our animals? We'll kind of help you decide, maybe a donkey's best for this event, or maybe a horse, or maybe just some chickens and rabbits. Like even earlier today, we went to a senior living care facility and we brought chicken and rabbits. Why? Just because it's easier to sit in the lap.
Sure.
They can pet them. They're not as quite mobile as, maybe a young child is. So being able to bring the animal to them, set it in their lap, give them that experience.
That's fun. I raised chickens. I had chickens, 5 chickens. And I love chickens. And our son used to get in the hammock and put all the chickens in the hammock with him. But, I think for some people, chickens can be intimidating too. So that's funny. The idea of taking a chicken to a senior center just sounds so unique.
I think as city dwellers are not used to thinking a chicken is cuddly.
Right.
It's
exactly.
not something that we think in their head, but they are.
Our family thinks they are, sure.
I mean, I even put the chicken on my shoulder or on top of my head, and I'll teach a lesson to kids, and they just love it, and they just love to be held, and they love the attention, the pets, everything.
Well, that's fun. Well, our audience will have to come down to Trak and meet the chickens and be surprised.
I would love to see everybody.
There you go. And can people just drop in and check in on the ranch, or do you need to have an appointment?
Absolutely. Appointments are preferable just because we have a busy schedule. We only have 8 staff members, and most of them are part-time. So sending an email to us at office@traktucson.org, that is a great way to say, hey, what's your availability, or when can I stop by? And we'll get you in pretty soon.
Well, that sounds like fun. That's a good thing for people to try. I think I was going to ask you, too, I know you are the program director.
Yes.
And so I know you have different programs there, and one is equine assisted learning, and you're maybe in charge of the animal assisted life skills. Is that correct? Or are you doing both? Or maybe you could talk about one of those.
They're kind of one and the same. So it's the same therapeutic program with 2 separate names and entities. So our animal assisted life skills, that is mainly for younger kiddos starting at age 5 who are afraid of horses. They're not quite ready to be open and be experienced to see these large animals. So we start with our rabbits, we start with our chickens. They get to learn how to care for these animals. They get to learn about their nutrition. Everything about this animal they learn, and we work our way up. So we'll go rabbits, chickens, we'll do our ducks, we'll do our pigs. We'll make sure those guys are nice and groomed and clean. They're understanding their personalities, all while learning how to be confident in themselves, all while learning communication, different life skills, working with others. How do you do these things? How do you be a leader in our community through Trak, through these animals? We even have kids who have started in these programs who are now farriers,
Oh, gosh.
And I guess they're adults now. So It's really amazing to see that they went from such a small program like Animal Assisted Life Skills, graduated into Equine Assisted Learning, went to farrier school, became a successful farrier, working on our horses now. So it's pretty amazing. And then with Animal Assisted Life Skills, we start with 6 weeks of that, the small animals. We work up to horses, start with our miniature horses. Those guys are a lot of fun, lots of personality. And Equine Assisted Learning is solely just the horses. These guys really teach emotional regulation. They teach us how to calm ourselves before we then interact with a horse. They teach a lot of communication. I liked the ask, tell, command method for communication. Setting boundaries is another big one with horses. And then also being able to recognize facial motions, body language, all that good stuff. So it gives them those skills in the outside life.
That's interesting. And those are usually the older children?
Not necessarily. So we can start them at 5 years old if they're ready.
Nice.
It's just typically we kind of go at the child's pace. So if they're not quite ready for the horses, we're going to start at Animal Assisted Life Skills for 6 weeks, and we're going to graduate into our equine program.
And then can older adults or older teenagers and young adults participate in that program, or are you generally for children?
Absolutely. So I work with everybody. So just like our children's clinic here, they recognize that there was a need for more care for our special needs adults or adults with disabilities. And so we were like, why don't we expand it? Why don't we offer these programs to adults too? Because these people matter just as much as anybody else.
Sure.
And so we give them this opportunity to learn with the others at their pace.
Well, that's nice. So people of all ages can contact you for some help
Yes.
and for some ideas of what you can do. That's very fun. And then, Amy, you were saying you're mostly specifically children, but do you do children up until 18 or young adults as well?
No. We have children come right out of the NICU into our clinic, and then we take care of them from, as I said, we have parents that we take care of, caregivers that we take care of as well. But unfortunately, a lot of our children's life expectancy is not long, and so that is why we continue to see them after 18. And she's right, some of our programs, we continue to have them, some in their early 20s, continue to come to some of our programs. Like we have a teen and young adult program group, and I think we let them come in up to 28. And you have to understand that sometimes a 28-year-old still has the mental capacity of a 13-year-old. So, it's for them. I think the other thing that's really important, and I don't know if she sees this as well at Trak, but for a caregiver that's giving constant care, having an hour of respite care while someone else has your child and is taking care of your child, for us, like it'd be an adaptive recreation or arts or teen group, it really gives the caregiver just an hour to decompress, and that's really huge.
Sure. Yeah, we do notice that a lot, and some of the parents are like, do we have to stay? I'm like, no. Go read a book, go get coffee for the hour. Like, I will take care of this. Your child is safe with me. They're loved. It's so, I guess, empowering for even the adults and the caregivers in this situation, because they do get a chance to breathe and say, okay, I'm ready to go again. Let's restart.
Sure. A little recharge.
Yes.
We had that at Impact. We have a lot of senior services, and we offered respite care for people who were the caregivers of their spouse or their partner. And, when you're especially an older person, and it's a lot of physical wear and tear to take care of someone, as well as the emotional side of it. And while your own body is feeling like it's getting older and able to do less, it was really kind of a challenge. So we put together a respite care program where people could drop off their loved one. And it was challenging, and I imagine you see the same thing. For some of them, it was a welcome relief, and they would come back 3 or 4 hours later. And others had separation anxiety, that sense of, well, but I'm the caregiver and I need to be here. So I'm sure there's some parents who...
There is. And I always encourage the parents, like, hey, you can come and watch.
Sure.
Come and join us. Why don't you see what we're doing so you can feel comfortable? And just bringing in the whole family into these situations, it really does create, a family in the Tucson community. That's what we're all about.
Sure. That's great. Sounds like you're doing great work. I'm excited. Well, then what kind of volunteer opportunities do you have? Do you use a lot of volunteers? You said you have a small staff.
Yes, we have a small staff, but we have usually around 300 volunteers at a time. They do everything for us. Some volunteers come in the office. They help us with the office work. We have volunteers doing care shifts, so that's work with all the animals. We have birthday party volunteers. We have special event volunteers, so that's going out to like the children's clinic or Trail Dust Town or anywhere that's outside of Trak itself. We also have opportunities within like our different programs. So Equine Assisted Learning, you can volunteer with that. I can always use help. I usually have a group of about 5 kids. Sometimes some of them aren't quite capable to stay with the group, or they might need a little bit more one-on-one assistance. So that really aids our care and all the kids and good stuff like that.
That is nice. So it sounds like you have a lot of different opportunities for people.
Yes.
Who have different desires and ways to get involved.
Yes.
That's good. Now, how about you, Amy? Because you're medical, is it a little more challenging?
Yes and no. We are very fortunate. So we have several volunteer opportunities. We have in-clinic volunteers, and we have a lot of pre-med U of A students come in and volunteer, and it's very important for them because they get to observe medical examinations. They can talk to actual PTs, because we've had a few that want to go into physical therapy, and then they get to work alongside a physical therapist and observe them in action. So that's really valuable. We also have pet therapy. We have a lot of dogs come in for appointments. And then we also have volunteers for events. We did our back to school event, and we had 50 volunteers helping us run, doing stuffy clinics and glitter tattoos and face painting and handing out backpacks full of school supplies. So yeah, again, like we had Hughes Federal Credit came out and helped us, and Corpus Christi Parish came. Like, it's amazing, the Tucson community.
It's nice. And it's nice when, I think in these days too, a lot of businesses offer the opportunity for their staff members, to go volunteer somewhere, so they pay them to be gone for the day from the company to help in the community. So both of these organizations sound like they offer things for people like that, as well as just the person who's looking for something to do to volunteer.
Yes.
So many different options. That's pretty cool. Well, Amy, what's your favorite part about working there? In your presentation, I know you shared a story about one of your clients, and I know you're in charge of quite a bit of one area of everything that's going on, so maybe you can share that.
I kind of have actually more because I'm in development and communication. So there's times I could be doing a grant and then I'm running downstairs to take photos for our adaptive rec music class. So it's what hat am I putting on? But my favorite thing about working there, and I just love that I work for a nonprofit healthcare model. It's just a different energy and environment. And so one of the things I enjoy about it is that we see things outside of a medical appointment. We know that health and well-being outside of a medical appointment is really important. So that's why we have adaptive recreation. It's why we do our signature events to help build community and to help the kids realize that the clinic isn't scary. And what's really amazing is I bring people in to tour the clinic, and they're just amazed at how comfortable the kids are. They just run around like they own the place. And I'm like, it's their place. It's their clinic.
Oh, that's a nice attitude to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can take a quick break to hear from Skip, and then we'll come back and hear more from Amy.
Today's program is brought to you by Skip, the Social Service Contractors Indemnity Pool. Skip is a member-owned, member-directed insurance provider with more than 3 decades of insuring Arizona social service organizations for their property, general and professional liability, and auto claim exposures. With an Arizona-based staff of claim underwriting and risk management professionals, Skip specializes in providing personalized service, affordable premiums, and coverage which meets and often exceeds the state of Arizona's contract requirements for social service providers. For more information, visit our website at www.sscip.org or ask your insurance agent about protecting your organization with insurance coverage through Skip.
We're back with Southern Arizona's nonprofits, and with me I have 2 superheroes impacting our community. We have McKinley Madril from Trak, the Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids, and also Amy Serafin, who is with children's clinics. And just before the break, Amy was talking about some of the things she does there, and she made a comment during the break that we're lucky we work at awesome places. And I think that's true of all 3 of us. We are very lucky to work in nonprofit and to work for some great organizations. And I think you're right. You're talking about it's different when you're asking for money for a program. So
yeah, it's and because I also, it's really rewarding. Like, for instance, we have an adoptive family program over the holidays that I love. This is kind of my baby. But it's just so great to be a Secret Santa. And the only thing that I am disappointed in is that my sponsors who sponsor families don't get to deliver the gifts to the families, because delivering them to the families is like, it's the best feeling. And so that's the only dang thing. But I love what I do. And the families that I impact, it's just like, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I think we were talking about Iliberto earlier, and that was the story that I told. He was born at TMC, premature, with a collapsed lung, and pretty much told he was deaf. They told his mom he wasn't going to walk, he wasn't going to talk, and she said she was planning his funeral. He came to children's clinics to receive feeding tube therapy. That's what we have. We get actually a lot of children in for feeding tube therapy. He was fitted with hearing aids at 6 months and was finally able to hear. And she said most of his early childhood she was at children's clinics all the time. And now he comes and he basically sees his ENT, his audiologist, and a speech and language pathologist. That's it. And he's in a really good place. He has lost all of the hearing in his right ear, and he does have to get a cochlear. But he takes advantage. He is a ham. He is a little rock star. His mom is amazing. She brings him to every, we have tuition-free adaptive recreations, and she brings him to music and tennis and soccer and basketball. And he was with Saguaro City, and he did Willy Wonka recently with Tina. And he is just thriving. And
how old is he now?
He's 9.
Isn't that amazing?
I know. And he's just, and so you look at that and you just, it just, you know, you're just doing something right.
Sure. I think you're right. It's because it's all about kindness and treating people with dignity and respect and improving their lives and enriching their lives somehow.
Right. Well, he has this amazing childhood. Like it was an even small thing. She said to me, he has a library now because of children's clinics. Like he wouldn't have, because we have a little library. And so every time they had an appointment, he would go and get a book. And so it's things like that I guess, you know, it's impactful because we make a lot of effort to have that done. And then to hear that feedback, it's like, yay.
That is nice. And I think in general, when we grew up with books, we take it for granted that children have books. Yes. And even at Impact, it's the same thing. We had a moment where the local elementary school had 70% of the kindergartners enroll had never had a book read to them. And we had the same reaction. It was like, I said to my husband, that's got to be a typographical error. It must be 7%. But we do the same thing. We have a children's library. Every child can come in and get 2 books a month. And then we have Make Way for Books. We've partnered with them. So their little blue book house is in the lobby, and kids go home with books all the time, every time they come in. So it's, but prior to that, they didn't have books in their home. No. So it is amazing to think that children don't.
And success by having a book in a home, and the success that a child will have in education is totally predicated on that. So yeah, it's good stuff.
It is good stuff. That's fun. Do you get to have that sense too, McKinley, with some of your clients?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just every child that comes in is, you know, it's the parents coming in saying, hey, this is the issue. This is what's going wrong. There's behavioral patterns that we don't like. You know, it's issue after issue after issue. I get these kids and I'm like, this child is wonderful. Like, why are we seeing these issues? You know, where is it stemming from? They're not engaged enough. They're not loved enough. Nobody's paying attention to them. What can it be? You know, and so some even come from, you know, terrible backgrounds with parents that have been struggling with addiction, you know, who may not have the funds for all this stuff. So even just getting support to give to these children and give them what they deserve and just see them flourish and to give them something to look forward to at least once every single week.
Sure. And that brings up a good question. Are your services free, or do families have to pay for them, or how do you fund your programming?
So we kind of do a little bit of both. So we do scholarships, and we also do service for fee. So some of those families who are a little bit more better off in our community, usually they do like to pay for those services rather than go on scholarship. And then we have quite a few children who don't have the funds to do stuff like this, so they go on scholarship quite a bit. We work with ESA too, so they help get all of those children that are homeschooled into these programs to learn and continue.
That's nice. So where do you think Trak gets most of its funding?
Most of our funding is mainly coming from our grants and our writing programs. So we do writing lessons for ages 4 all the way up. And that's a really, really big one. But that also costs the most with our big grass eaters.
Sure.
And all of the supplies and tack and the staff that we need. So those ones are mainly paid for by the families. They're also covered by ESA. And that just really supports all of Trak.
Are those writing programs separate from kids who are coming in for therapy? I mean, could I send my child there for writing, just for horseback riding lessons?
Yes.
Okay.
So all of our programs, they build off of each other. So if you know nothing about Trak, animal-assisted life skills is the best way to start. You're going to learn about the small animals. You go to your equine. You're going to learn about your big animals. You can go into volunteering. Then you can go into writing lessons. So they all build off of each other. They create different communities within Trak. And they give everybody a little bit of a sense of belonging, no matter where they're at.
Well, that's a neat idea. I don't think I realized that was an opportunity for writing lessons.
Yes,
for the public.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That is good to know. And then I think I saw on your website you do you have corporate team building that comes in. So I know that's big at Impact. They're always calling corporate groups, what can we do if we bring in a dozen people?
Yeah. So, I mean, just hearing the corporate team building, it makes me laugh because I have all these memories of, all these big kids is what we call them. They're our adults, Trak, and they are running around with our miniature horses, trying to get them through an obstacle course. They're making the funniest noises you've ever seen in your entire life. And it's a blast. I couldn't tell you how much fun it is. You just have to experience it yourself.
Well, I think that's good for our listeners to know, because I wouldn't have ever really thought to bring my staff down to Trak. But we might have to do that because I think it does sound like fun.
It is a lot of fun. Make sure you bring your running shoes and a water bottle. You're going to need it.
There you go. Sounds nice. How about you, Amy? Do you have corporate groups that come in, or how do you partner with some of those other groups and businesses for volunteering?
We don't have anything quite like that. We have, for us, because we were talking about raising funds, the majority, same as grants, but it's very specific in terms of programs, or usually someone wants to do funding new equipment or remodel, which we do need because we're a nonprofit.
Sure.
But we do sponsorships. We've been trying to get, and with success, sponsorships for our events. And our events are important because it really builds a sense of community. I've been in my job for a year and a half now, and it really hit me at the holiday event why having a holiday event at our clinic is so important. That holiday event, we make sure that every child, including all their siblings, get a toy for Christmas. And they get to shop. There's different toys. There's sensory toys and Legos and Barbies and arts and crafts. So they get to shop for their toy. But they also get to see Santa, and our Santa is familiar with special needs. But the other thing with our events is that we have an adult diaper changing station. It's just built for our community. So if they go to the mall to see Santa and their child has to be changed, they're on the floor and they have to, this woman was telling me she has to put a shawl up to try and change her daughter on the floor.
Sure.
So that's the other why we have events. It's not just to make the children realize that the clinic is fun, but also for our community so that they feel a sense of belonging. It's really important.
So I was going to ask you about fundraising. So what are you, now that you got this big grant from the 100 plus women
right.
and the 100 guys, what are you going to spend that $60,000 plus on?
We are already looking. We're going to spend it on the stuff that we're not getting grant funding for. That's kind of tough. Like Switch Adaptive Toys was one of the things I mentioned there that night. It's a very complicated thing to explain why you need Switch Adaptive, because it helps prepare a child with cerebral palsy for having a switch to use their motorized vehicle or their speech tablet, right? So they eventually are going to need it, and I won't bore you with all the details. So it's things like that we'll be able to fund now. It's things like
Let me just ask you, though, when you say a Switch Adaptive Toy for listeners, because it's audio rather than visual, what does that term
really mean? A switch looks
mean?
like a little button. Like we actually do it at our holiday thing. There's children that are nonverbal, so they can hit a button and it says trick or treat. So that's a switch, but they can also attach a switch to a toy with sound and light, and they get to operate it. So they get to turn it off, which allows them to play, but also teaches them how to use the switch. So later on, when they need to use that in therapy or for a device, they have that kind of training. So it's a twofold thing.
Sure. Thank you.
So no, great. I'm used to my world.
And that's true of all of us. I know we use lingo, and
right.
but I'm thinking the listeners that might have gone so fast, and they're still trying to visualize what it is.
I know.
And a switch will cost like $75.
Sure.
And then so
just one.
Just one. So it's things like that. The other beautiful thing that we had wrote a couple grants for but hadn't gotten funding for is our Beads of Courage Memorial Service. So unfortunately, we lose about 16 to 20 kids a year. And that's hard on our staff.
Oh, yeah.
Because, as I said, many of them, they've come in from infants and they can have them for many, many years. So what we want to do is have a memorial service with Beads of Courage that allows our staff and the families to come in and honor their children and have some closure. So now we'll be able to fund that. So it's just kind of these little things that are important to staff and families that we can't always get the funding for. So yeah.
I know it is
That's
hard.
beautiful.
It is. Isn't it a neat thing to do?
It is.
Yeah.
And I like that. Beads of Courage is such a neat organization. And I think I can imagine it would be very hard on staff because you would naturally feel like your family. It's just like with animals, right?
Yes,
They're your family. These are the kids you've been watching progress and they're coming to you regularly. So it would be tough.
So I said I've been working there for a year and a half, and I got to know one family, and we lost her in May.
Sure.
And that was really, it was very unexpected. So that was my first, and I don't work on them with a daily basis like a lot of the clinicians did. I just work on them from events with the families. Work with the families. And it was tough. It's very tough.
Sure. We get that in our senior programs, so we can relate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you see the same thing. You have people who are coming for service and then they disappear.
Yes.
Or even they move or...
Yeah, just little things like that. I even remember my first clients and they're like, okay, that's it. We're moving. And I was like, oh no, I know I went home and I cried and I was like, I'm going to miss these kids. I'm going to miss this family. Like they were my building blocks. They're the reason that I do this. They're, what gives me passion in my life and it fills my cup and, it's all about these kids. And so it's just hard to see them go.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's the biggest challenge, I think, in the nonprofit world.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's an awesome job because we just get to make such a difference, but it has its challenges too.
I know, but it's so great to sit here at this table and we're all so passionate about what we do and the people we care for. So
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
McKinley, did you have a story about one of your clients that stood out or somebody that you've really
I
made a
do.
difference with that you
Yeah.
want to share?
So,
I think it's fun.
One of our young men now, I'm happy to say he's a young man, but his name is Jackson. And so he has been coming to us for quite a few years now. He was diagnosed with autism. He speaks very few words. It's not quite in full sentences, but he's able to say, hey, there's Scotty. There's Bucky the horse, and he recognizes what everything is. When he's ready to go, he's like, car, right now, And so when I first met him, he wasn't using as much language as he is using now. And we put him on the back of a horse. I will go ride with him. And I start using kind of silly words. I'm like, come on, slowpoke. And I'm telling the horse, come on, slowpoke. And he's all slowpokey, and it's so funny to see him, learning these new things. And, they never thought that he'd be able to drive. Well, guess what? He can drive a golf cart with a trailer.
Oh, gosh, how fun.
He feeds the horses, he grooms them, he tacks them up, everything. He is so capable. He is so intelligent. He's so loving. And to see him grow in the short amount of time that I've been at Trak is outstanding because the doctors told the mom, just give up. He's not going to become anything. And so it breaks your heart to hear that. Even from a mother's standpoint.
Sure.
Like, how could somebody tell you that your child's never going to become anything? How are you supposed to just give up on your kid? That's not a thing. You're a mother. You love them. And so when they come to Trak, they get that same love. Even with our founder, Scott, he gives that love that, a father would. With me, I go out as a mother. I don't have kids on my own, but I consider all of my kids my kids.
Sure.
And so just giving them the love, the patience, and the time to be themselves, to grow, and to just blossom.
And you get to watch it. That's so cool.
It is.
And I think a lot of those things you described are experiences you can't have at home. Without Trak, none of those things probably would have happened. He wouldn't be in a golf cart towing a trailer.
No.
He wouldn't be responsible for getting the hay and feeding the horse or a lot of those experiences really are so unique. Families don't have those at home.
They are. We even had a young girl who was nonverbal autistic. So at home they didn't have animals or anything, but as soon as she got on the back of a horse, you couldn't get her to stop talking.
Interesting.
And they're like, whoa, she's talking? We didn't know that she was able to talk. We didn't know that she could. So it was just, they're completely different children when they're around these animals.
Sure. What a great resource for the community.
It is.
Both of you, really. It's just exciting to have. So you were talking about events, and we're in the throes or the ends of summer, and we're coming into the fall season, which is in Tucson when events kind of start back up or outside. So how about you, Amy? Do you have any events coming at the end of the year that it would be good for the public to know about, or a fundraising opportunity?
Yeah, fall and winter is our busiest time. We have Halloween at our clinic. We actually shut our clinic down for Halloween. It's a big, big deal. And we always can take candy donations. And we also need non-food because some of, like I said, our children are G-tube fed or they have dietary restrictions. So we always have a teal pumpkin is what it's called for treats. We also do El Tour de Tucson. That's a really big thing. We have an adaptive bikes and Trikes program. So the kids dress up their bikes, they decorate them, and then we pay the entrance fee for all the kids, and we go down and we ride in the fun ride. And I just think it's such an amazing event for families to be in the community and for the community to see how amazing our kids are. And so, yeah, it's a heartwarming morning. And then our adoptive family, and then that's a big one. And then our holiday toy event. Yeah, with Trak. They'll be there at Halloween and the holidays. So, yeah.
It is fun. Yeah. I was thinking about the adaptive bikes because I think, are you looking for funding from the community to help you buy more adaptive bikes?
We are. We're going to use some of that money, not all the money, but to buy adaptive trikes and bikes. And they're really complicated. I mean, we get a discount and they still run about $2,500. It's ridiculous, but
we've bought them for people in our community, adults who need a bike to get around and who are disabled.
But when you see, and it's kind of similar to what McKinley's talking about, is when you have a child in a wheelchair and all of a sudden they get on a bike, they start holding themselves different. Their focus is different. Like all of a sudden they're focused and they're pedaling and they're really into it. And then you put them back in their wheelchair and they're just slumped over. So it's so beneficial for them to get, as we say, we have better medical outcomes when they are using their bikes outside of just their normal PT sessions. And they're getting the outdoors and they're getting exercise and they're getting social. And, we have like a little riding group going on. So it's so important.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
So when we go down to El Tour, watch for your kids on their bikes.
Yeah.
And then how about you, McKinley? Do you have things coming up in the fall?
Well, we do. We have lots of things coming up. Of course, working with the Children's Clinic, that's a lot of fun. We also go to Trail Dust Town a lot during Christmas time. So if you want to come out and support, we're there every Friday night. Say hi to all of our animals. Say, hey, McKinley sent me, and they'll let you in.
And where is this?
Trail Dust Town. So it's right off of, I believe, I want to say Wilmont.
Maybe you can tell us because I'm not even familiar with Trail Dust Town.
Oh, man. I'd have to look it up.
What is it? Is it
it is
Western setup?
Yes. It's kind of like an old Western town that they have. They do a lot of like plays. So they have theme plays. So during Halloween, they have a theme play for then, and you can watch it. And it's like cowboys and they have a wonderful steakhouse there. They have a kids area. That's where we usually are. And they have a little a merry-go-round. And so it's a lot of fun. It gives them a chance to explore, see all the gift shops. There's an opera house. We also are in there sometimes too. So those are all really fun events to go to and see and experience, and you can see real cowboys there.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's right next to Golf and Stuff on Tinker Verde.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That'll be easy to find.
Yeah, and then our biggest one coming up is September 4th. We are having a Beetlejuice fundraiser.
Oh, my.
So you can join us at the Galaxy Theaters. Enjoy Beetlejuice with some cowboys.
What a combination.
Yeah, that's September 14th at 4 p.m.
14th or 4th?
14th.
Okay.
Yes, so
Gotcha.
right after.
That sounds like fun.
And then just come by, stop by, say hi.
There you go. I know I might come down and check out the chickens.
Please do. That'd be wonderful.
I'm all about the rabbits.
Yes.
Rabbits.
There you go. Well, there's so many fun things to do. And I know you mentioned birthday parties, so I wanted to make sure our listeners caught that. So This is a place you can come and have your birthday party for your child.
Yes. So birthday parties are a lot of fun. You get your party coordinator there. You bring food. The only thing that we don't bring are balloons. We need
I'm
to keep
sure.
our animals safe. But you get a full petting zoo all to your party. So your rabbits, your chickens, your ducks, you get your goats, your miniature horses and donkeys. And then the favorite part is where we do our pony rides, our hand-led horse rides. We make sure everyone's all saddled up, has their helmets on, and you're good to go for a ride. And so
It does sound
it's a
like
cool
fun.
experience.
That's where I want my next birthday party to be.
I know, that's
Come
what
on
I was
out.
thinking.
We'd love to have you.
Seriously.
I have to get my grandkids to come down from Seattle in the snow time, to
Yes,
do that. But
be a nice break from the snow.
it would be a fun thing to do. Yeah, that's neat. All right, and then I was trying to think if there was anything else. I did want to ask you, Amy, tell us about the Save Your Fish project, because you have this aquarium, and people, it's not what you're going to think about when you're thinking about children's clinics, but share your issue with your fish.
We have a campaign. It's called SOF, Save Our Fish, but Save Bubba. If you ever in our lobby, Bubba is the star attraction. But we have a gigantic saltwater tank. I think it's like 96 inches long or something, and it's been there for I think almost 15 years. And it's in desperate need of repair. The equipment, the stand, and of course, because it's so huge, it's not inexpensive. But it's been in our lobby for so long, and our kids love it. We actually did have a debate of like, do we keep it? Do we not keep it? But every time you come down the stairs of the elevator, the kids are glued to the glass, and there's Nemo, and so and you can even see it in therapy. They'll be doing therapy, and the kids will jet over to the fish tank. So we are almost at our halfway mark, trying to raise $22,000 to save Bubba.
All right.
Yeah,
so people who love fish or are aquarium fans might want to reach out to you at the website, and on the episode landing page, all the contact information for these guests and their organizations are there. So you can
save Bubba.
That's right. You might want to pitch in for an aquarium update.
Yeah.
So I think, do you have any other things that you have at the top of your head that you wish you could make sure the listeners know?
I think I would say just if you're even thinking about coming out, just stop by. Come by. We want to have you there. We want to show you what we have. We want to experience the animals with you. So just give us a call. Our number's 520-298-9808, or you can email us at office@traktucson.org. And it's TRAK.
That's helpful.
Don't forget that. Yes.
Therapeutic Ranch, and the AK is adults and kids?
Animals and kids.
Animals and
Therapeutic
kids.
Ranch for animals and kids. So
there you go.
Look us up. Come say hi.
And I have to add, they're very easy to find, because if you're in Tucson and you're riding down river, and river kind of turns into Alvernon around the big curve, they're right there.
You can probably hear our donkeys. So
I'm sure
just
that's
follow
true.
the sound of the donkeys.
So pretty central and easy to find, and you might not expect to find a ranch in that part of town.
Exactly.
But
Everyone's
right
like, whoa,
close to the JCC.
it's a ranch in the city.
Exactly. So it's fun.
I would just say that same. If you're interested in learning more about children's clinics, I love giving tours of the clinic, and everyone's so amazed by what we do. Plus, I think the biggest misconception is a lot of people think like, oh, it'd be so hard to work every day with kids and see them, in pain or having a medical complexity or being in a wheelchair. But when you're in the clinic, it's the most inspiring. There's so much joy in the hallways. It's so inspiring, and I feel like you really understand that when you're there. So yeah, if you're interested, I love to give tours.
All right. So we've got the contact information on the website, and we will check in, and hopefully you'll have a lot of the community stop by and learn more about you. Thank you both so much for what you do in the community and for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
Barbara.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of the summer and fall.
Yes.